welcome back to Inspired or Acquired. This is the podcast where we interview real business owners, talk real numbers, and ask them whether or not they would sell their business. So this is brought to you by your co-host. I'm Patrick Dichter from Apple Tree Business Services. Clint Fiore, my other co-host here, he is from Dealonomy. And our guest today is Daniel Magazu out of the Boston area. And he has two businesses. So it's going to be a fun discussion with him. And let's get into it here. So Daniel, how are you today?
Pretty good, Patrick. Thanks for having me on. Excited.
Yeah, man. So for folks who don't know about you, tell us a little bit about your two businesses and how they're related and what you do.
Yeah. So my main business is Ride the Wave, which is an organic Facebook management company for home service businesses. And what we do differently than most organic Facebook management companies is we actually go in and join up to 200 local Facebook groups for these home service businesses and post to 3 Facebook groups every single day, which is just great for driving brand awareness, community engagement, driving leads. So we do a lot more work that's hands-on and actually drives results.
Nice. That's a good description. And I know a few happy clients of yours. And tell us how this business came about. What were you doing before?
Yep. So in 2019, COVID began, and I was sent home from college. I was a freshman and was sitting in my house bored. A few friends of mine wanted to start up a landscaping business. Had no idea how to get our first job, but I had kept seeing posts from some of my girlfriends into the local Facebook groups asking for babysitting and nannying jobs. I noticed that all these posts had tons of likes and comments. So I just tried it out for the landscaping business. I said, hey, I'm Dan, just started a landscaping business, would love to help anybody out, trying to save some money from college. And I do really nice work. I think I had like 20 people reach out to me from that one small post into my local Facebook community group. And that was the start of the landscaping business. So I ran that landscaping business every summer during my college summers. Graduated in 2023. Decided I loved entrepreneurship, wanted to continue with the landscaping business. So that summer, instead of just posting to my local hometown, I started posting to every town group that I was willing to travel to. And it scaled the business really nicely. So today I'm focused primarily on Ride the Wave. I have a friend from high school who's also named Danny, who runs the landscaping business. And he's continuing to grow and manage it to this day.
Nice. That's a great story. So started the landscaping business, figured out this Facebook marketing strategy that really took off. And then you started offering the Facebook marketing agency to a bunch of other people. And now you're focused on the agency that's really grown like crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So Clint, let's see if we can tempt him to.
Yeah. I mean, I think we got a 2-for-1 here, Patrick. So I want to start with the landscaping business first. So this was your first business, started in college. And then I want to get to Ride the Wave, which is, the fast growing agency that I'm really excited to talk about. So, you started the landscaping business in 2023, right? Was that it? Or
2019? The first official real year was 2023, but I ran it every summer during college from 2019 to 2022.
Okay. So by 2023, you've got a real company here, and the other Daniel is now running it.
Yep.
Okay. Talk me through the numbers on the landscaping biz. And is it all maintenance, or do you do installs, or just tell me about the scope of work you do there?
Yeah. So the landscaping business is pretty niche. We don't do really any maintenance work. We're called the mulch masters. So we do mulching projects and other various sort of side projects too, like middle-sized landscaping projects. So not like hardscaping, but not lawn mowing. So anything kind of in between. In 2023, I think we did 300,000 in revenue. and maybe 120,000 in profit. I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but that sounds about right. This year, we'll probably do, so we're going to do probably around 25,000 a month for the next 7 months. So that will operate around 50% net profit margins.
And how old are you, by the way, Daniel?
I'm 23, turning 24 very soon. But yeah,
That's awesome. That's impressive. What did you study in school, by the way?
Well, I studied mathematics. So I started off studying computer science, didn't like it, moved to mathematics, then added a biochemistry major as well. Ended up dropping that. Ended up kind of going back to computer science. So I did a co-op with Amazon doing software engineering for 6 months, my senior year fall. And then dropped the biochem degree and just graduated with mathematics. So
wow. Okay.
The landscaping business, you said 120,000 profit or so?
Yeah, around there.
Mulch Masters, right? Is that after Daniel is paid? You still have 120 net, or is that before he's paid?
I haven't been paid yet. So that's
the other Daniel.
Oh, he hasn't been paid yet either. That okay. Includes us. That's what we take home together.
Okay, great. And it's his full-time gig?
Yep, this will be his full-time gig.
Okay. That one, I think, in its current state, it's a nice little business, but I feel like if you were going to sell it and you came to me and said, Clint, I want to sell this thing, I'd say he's probably your only buyer. Like, it would be hard. It would be hard to get like a third party to come in, because if they had to fill his shoes, by the time they paid themselves, $100,000, there's just not much left over there to service acquisition debt.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I feel like you've got an asset there, and it's really impressive that you've built that up at such a young age. I just feel like if you wanted to do a deal with him, I would say, you probably need to put, like I would say, what would you have to hire someone else if you were going to just pay someone that's a foreman type of person to fill his shoes, or that's a GM of this thing? And you may be able to find, for a small landscaping business, someone you could pay $60,000 or something like that. And then that might mean out of that 120, you've kind of got, we can make a case that there's really 60 of like free cash flow to a more hands-off owner. And then you could put a multiple on that, say like 3x or something like that. And then, so I think you could say, hey, why don't you just work out a deal where you sell this to Dan for 180,000, and you just finance it out of the cash flow of the business over the next 5 or 10 years, because it could afford it at its current cash flow. And then that's just a friendly deal between you two. You just have a lawyer draft that up, and then it's all his, and you just take installments over 5 or 10 years to get that 180,000 or whatever it is to you, or whatever your ownership stake is. But like, that would be roughly how I would do a deal on that if you were going to do that. Does that track for you?
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's always been sort of a side business. I never built it for enterprise value. I didn't even know that was like a thing when I was just doing it. I just thought it was cool that I was making $70 an hour when I was working it during the college summers.
But yeah, if y'all are getting along great, and he's got, he's in it for the mid to long term, and is going to keep running it and growing it, and it's working, then I would just say, let's just let it ride, and take your piece of the cash flow and let him continue to build there. But it will become an asset that could be more easily marketable to an arm's length buyer that's not him someday. But I think it's got to get over that, like, maybe $250,000 of profit mark before it's got enough profit for someone to be able to come in, fill his shoes, make a living, and still be able to service some acquisition debt. And so that's what I would do, is like, if you needed to sell it now, I'd be like, that's your buyer, your buddy, your buddy that's running it's your buyer. And you just got to like come to an agreement with him, and you could hire a broker or a lawyer to like find a deal similar to what I was talking about that works on the cash flow, and do it internally with minimal fees, or you keep growing it to that $250,000 or above earnings mark, and then you could take it to the market at that point.
Totally. Our plan is to continue managing it and growing it for the next 5 years, and then we're gonna see what we want to do with it.
Yeah.
At that point. So yeah, no rush to.
Does it take like any energy or bandwidth from you right now?
So I've hired my marketing agency to do the Facebook stuff, and then I love just fooling around with different marketing channels. So I like spend a couple hours here and there just like doing some marketing stuff to get us some leads. But other than that, I don't do much for it other than file the taxes.
What do you think the top end of the potential is? That do you think that could be like a $2 million a year business, or not unless you like expanded the services?
Everyone in Massachusetts gets their mulch done. So, and the average ticket on a job size is like $2,000. So if we wanted to scale it up, I think it's possible. It's very labor intensive business. So I think it would be hard to get past maybe $3-4 million, but it definitely could scale to the $1 to $3 million range, probably relatively easy with some effort.
Got it.
Well, yeah, I think if you can get it over that $1 million mark and keep those margins at 30% or better, then you'll end up with 5 years from now, you can end up with a really nice payday if you decide to move on to something else. That's definitely something another landscaper would purchase, or someone that wants to get into the space.
Yeah,
It'd be a perfect entry point for someone.
Hey guys, wanted to take a quick break from the show just to tell you about our companies for a second. I'm Patrick Dichter, and I own Apple Tree Business Services. We do quality accounting and tax nationwide. So if you're running a business or looking to buy a business, we'd love to help you out with accounting and tax services. You can find us at appletreebusiness.com. And Clint, tell us about Bison Business.
Yeah, Bison Business is my firm. We do nationwide M&A. So we help people buy and sell companies. Most of our customers have companies in the 1 to 20 million revenue range, profitable businesses. So if you've got one and you're ready to get acquired, you can reach out to us at bisonbusiness.com for a complimentary evaluation. We can get you to market and get you sold. If you're a listener that's a buyer that wants to buy a company that size, make sure you're on our email list, because we'll send you out deals first before they hit the market anywhere else. But we'd love to serve you anytime you're thinking of acquiring or selling your business. We want to be your first stop at Bison Business.
Awesome. Now back to the show.
What do you think it would be worth at, say, $400,000 a year in net profit?
I think that would be worth $1 million, maybe a little more, like a 2.5 to 3 multiple. And what would really drive that to the higher end of that range would be if you could get more of your customers, if you can prove that these customers keep rebuying over and over again, so that it doesn't become just call me when you need mulch. It becomes we have a route of clients that always use us, and then it starts to look, it appears more like a service business with recurring clients versus a project business. Because I think the average buyer that looks at that business is going to ask, because it's a little unorthodox, it's a little different than other landscaping business. They're going to ask, is this a project-based landscaping business, or is this a landscape maintenance business? And you want it to appear more like yeah, we do maintenance on these beds. We replace the mulch every so often, and the customers are just in the bag every time. And then every time you add a customer, you didn't just add them one time, you add them for years to come. And so if you can start tracking your lifetime customer value, your churn, and things like that to show that this is a sticky recurring revenue customer base, and the stronger you can make that case, the higher you can bend that multiple up towards, the 3 or 4x range in that on that 400K. But if it appears more like project based, it's going to be in the closer to the 2x range.
Yeah. That's something I've thought about. Mulch is definitely, people do it every year or every 2 years usually. So I wonder if during the sales process, we just push like an annual contract for 10% off, if that would be a lot better for the business.
I would give serious thought to that. If you could put it in front of them, if you could make your, like, let's say you give them an option A, option B close, and you make your one-off price so ridiculously high that almost nobody does it because they'd rather just get on the contract and be like, yeah, you can cancel the contract, but we think you'll be really happy with the service and stay with us long term. And then when they don't want a contract, you're making just really fat margins because it's way higher price. But then when they do get the contract, you have more reliable. You can just show up next year and do it next time whether is it once a year typically, or do you do it a couple times a year typically?
Usually mulch is once a year, and we'll get calls for like cleanups or bed extensions throughout the year if they'll call us back.
What you might do is go for like a 3-year contract then, and be like, hey, you're going to need this every year. If you do this 3-year agreement, we'll just show up next year. It'll be done. We won't have to, it'll be one less thing to worry about.
Yeah.
It's 20% less if you do that. But you make that your normal margin. And then if they take 20% higher, now you're making some really high margin on the one-off. And then just try to sign up those 3-year contracts. And then that becomes really attractive to a buyer to see, wow, I buy this right now. You've already got the next couple of years of revenue pretty in the bag.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, that'd be really attractive.
We just made you $500,000.
Thanks, guys.
Or Clint did.
You all should come on the Inspired or Acquired podcast.
We're giving out the free consulting as well as valuations, guys. Come on the show if you got a business. We want to talk to you.
All right, let's hit the agency though, because
let's get to the fun one. All right, let's ride the wave. Dan, first tell us, how does this thing work in layman's terms? Just you already kind of hit it, but like, let's pretend I had a roofing business and I want you to help sell jobs over Facebook. What do you do?
Yeah, so basically, if someone wants to work with us, they'll come to us, they'll fill out our form on our website. We'll give them all the details. So normally what we do for an average client is we'll join 200 groups, usually around 7 groups a day. We'll post to 3 of those groups every single day. We'll post twice a week to their business page. We'll send them all the content, have a monthly meeting, send them a monthly report, and provide text or email communication with them. Now that is priced on a monthly retainer, so it's normally $2,000 a month. They can cancel anytime, that sort of thing. So that's what it looks like working with us. Does that make sense?
It does. Let's talk numbers. Like, how long have you been doing this, and what's been, the growth trend so far?
Yeah, so 2023, I just had 2 clients. They were my first 2 clients, a home improvement company and a custom built pergola company. So I guess that year doesn't really count. So 2024 was our first full year in business. We grew from those initial 2 clients to around 60 clients. That year we did, let me just look at my numbers really quickly. that year. So 2024, we did $330,000 in revenue and about $185,000 in profit. Starting out in 2025, we've seen a lot of growth. So January, we did $62,000 in revenue and $38,000 in profit. In February, we did $83,000 in revenue and $35,000 in profit. March will be our first six-figure month, so we'll do, I think, around $105,000 in revenue. I don't have the profit numbers just yet. The main difference between January and February and why that net income went down was because I hired a full-time salesperson, so I don't have to do sales calls anymore. So I've eliminated myself from that part of the business. So that's what I've got for you in terms of numbers.
Well, congrats on your first six-figure month.
Yep. Yeah, I was pumped.
That's awesome, man.
24 years old, right?
Yep.
You're the you can just do things poster child. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I love that meme going around. So guys, if you're listening, if you're young and motivated, you can just do things. And this guy, Daniel, is just getting it done, getting after it. 330,000 last year. And at the way you're going, I mean, heck, this could be a 7-figure revenue year with, 400,000 in profit. I don't know. Like, it kind of depends on we're still early. It kind of depends on where you keep your margins and if you're able to keep up these 6-figure sales months. Do you think that's going to be sustainable? Or do you think March was a fluke, or how are you feeling about it?
So feeling really optimistic. So quarter one went really well. We maintained a 96% customer retention rate. So clients are liking the service and they're staying, which means we won't be losing too much in revenue each month. And the goal for the rest of the year is to push as hard as possible with sales, and just grow as quickly as possible. Operations is finally stabilized and we're ready to take on as many clients as possible. So we're gonna grow as rapidly as we possibly can.
So you're saying you weren't even like hitting the gas yet, and now you're gonna hit the gas?
Yeah. We were hitting the gas, but now we're really gonna be hitting the gas.
So impressive, man. This is a super fun conversation. Who's doing the work? So you have a salesperson you just hired. So you were kind of the sales guy until this point?
Yep.
Who's doing the posting in all the Facebook groups, and how many? Do you have a bunch of contractors, or how does that work?
Yeah, good question. So operations is entirely delegated. I have my director of Facebook who sort of oversees the whole operation. She's amazing. Within her sort of umbrella are the copywriters who write all the content, the account managers who post and join Facebook groups. We got about 20 of them, maybe more now. And we got our project managers who help Shima communicate with the clients and onboard new clients and whatnot. So that's pretty much what the internal operations look like.
That's great. And so I'm assuming these are probably overseas folks.
Yeah, primarily.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Cool, man. And you own 100% of this one?
I do.
Okay. Well, you got a great niche. I think Facebook is so slept on as a platform. I think that there's, it's like when I worked at Red Lobster as a server. This is way back then. I don't even know if you know this about me, Patrick, but my manager talked about we sell to mahis, middle-aged, high incomes. Like that's our ideal customer at Red Lobster. And like really for home service businesses and even for stuff like what me and you do, serving, the blue collar business owners and like those middle-aged high income people, they're still on Facebook.
Totally.
And they're hanging out in these groups. And just because it's not the hotness for Gen Z or, the young folks, it doesn't mean that's not where the income is. And that's not where the the opportunity is if you're trying to sell big ticket items and services. And so, and groups are thriving. Like they're doing really well. I think the thing that people really overlook about Facebook is groups and the marketplace.
Mm.
I think people look at the timeline and they're like, I don't want to see grandma ranting about Fox News or like whatever grandma's ranting about today. And that's why you're turned off. But no, if you can niche into the groups and into Facebook Marketplace, there's gold to be mined there. So I think you've got a great niche. I hats off to you for just finding that, Daniel. Let's talk valuation on Ride the Wave. Okay. This one's super, super hard to value. There's part of the problem is it's young. It's been kind of wrapped around you as the primary driver. I think a lot of people, banks or buyers would argue that there's a lot of what would be called personal goodwill. And that would be like, you're the expert here. I don't know that I can fill your shoes. And I think you're just in the first early innings of proving that this model isn't Daniel Magazu dependent. But you are doing the right things. Hiring the salesperson was a huge first step. And so if you can keep yourself kind of like in the owner's box more and more, where you're dictating strategy, you're hiring and leading the talent, but you're not doing much of the client facing work. And then you have a system for recruiting and training the account managers and the copywriters. And you've got, your SOPs and your playbook of like, this is how Ride the Wave onboard sales talent. Here's how we onboard operational talent. Here's their manuals of how they do their things. And we have this established method of getting our own customers. And then you're spending your time mainly managing the people and managing the finances. Then I think you start to make a strong case that you have a transferable, valuable business. And if you can make that strong case, which I think you're laying that groundwork right now, and you start turning in numbers like we were talking about, like maybe at the end of the year, you're over $1 million in revenue, maybe you're 400,000 or 500,000 in net profit. Then you could have a business that's only 2 years old that's worth over $1 million at 24, 25 years old. And so like, that's so freaking cool. Like that's American Dream 2.0 type stuff there, Daniel. So super happy for you on that. I do think that's where you're heading. I don't think that's where you are right this second, because you're just hitting the gas pedal. You're just kind of getting up that growth curve. So if you told me, Clint, I want to sell this business, I'd be like, you're crazy. Like don't do it unless you had just some absolute necessity reason you had to. I'd say keep doing what you're doing. Keep kind of graduating yourself into the owner's box more and more here, and keep that growth rate going. But you're definitely on pace to have a 7-figure asset very soon, like potentially year end. But again, do all those operational things, and then the second piece is make sure you got somebody like Patrick in your corner, because like I need you to recognize you're growing a 7-figure asset here, Daniel. Like this isn't college side hustle anymore territory. And the only way you extract that value someday, whether that's now or 5 years from now or 10 years from now, is you got to have the books and records to prove it. And so you got to make sure you professionalize the accounting and be able to like lights out answer all the financial questions about your company. And so, yeah, having a good bookkeeping partner that understands, how to get your tax write-offs you want as the owner without killing your business value at the same time, like that's worth its weight in gold for you right now.
Totally. Thanks for the praise and advice, Clint. Yeah, I think that's core to what I'm trying to do is keep graduating myself out of the business in places where it makes sense while trying to focus my time on what's gonna really grow and push the business to the next level. Definitely taking the accounting stuff more seriously than I did with the landscaping company. I've got this guy who's cleaning up the books, who was I think this is like his retired job. He was a CFO for multiple biotech companies that went from startup to public. So I think he knows what he's doing. And then I'm actually still looking for an accountant to do my stuff for next year. So I've already talked to Patrick briefly about it, but he'd be someone for that.
You got this momentum. We're talking maybe it could sell for like $1 million or more here soon. Does that tempt you to like get a big win on the scoreboard and then like go do something else, or what do you think?
No. The goal, at least the one that I have in mind, is to get it to 5 million in profit.
5 million a year in profit?
5 million a year in profit, and then consider selling. So I'm trying to do that within the next 5 years. And then go do something else. So that's what I want to do.
That is bananas.
Big goal. All right.
Do you see that being possible with just like your current services?
Yeah. It's gonna be difficult. I've got new services in the works. So Facebook groups will be the primary service, probably always the core service, but I'm working on other services just in case Facebook groups goes down for whatever reason, which is risk. But my idea is when I do add new services for them to be sort of niche, like Facebook groups, where there's not a lot of competition. Part of the success we've had is because people hear about Facebook groups. They haven't really heard about someone offering a service like this.
Right.
And so when I have one successful case study, people go and tell their friends. And when they get in the sales call, it's not like there's a ton of competitors vouching, trying to compete.
Yeah,
with
it's
them.
not their fifth time trying to do SEO with somebody. Yeah.
Do you get performance-based pay?
Haven't really tested it out.
Like a pay-per-lead model?
Yeah. We have a few clients on pay-per-lead, but only in situations where I saw it to be like beneficial.
There's while I'm throwing out free ideas for you, like you may be able to find revenue here if you kind of keep your core offer like it is, but then say, hey, and how about this? If we help you 20% grow this year, would you be willing to give us a $10,000 bonus at the end of the year? Or something like that. Because if one thing I know about the small business owner is they'll say yes to almost anything that's conditional on like an upside result that's better than they've done before. So like if you told me or Patrick, hey, if you grew 20% this year, would that be worth $10,000 to you? Oh yeah. Like heck yeah. Like no doubt. Okay. Well, have you been growing 20% every year? No, I'm not growing 20% every year. Okay. Well, if we started working together and you grew 20% this year, does that mean you'd be willing to pay us a $10,000 bonus? Like they love hypotheticals like that. And you could probably get somebody to say yes to some back end. You have to be careful that it doesn't come across as you're guaranteeing it, or you don't want it to like eat into your, you don't want to disappoint people and have it eat into your churn or customer satisfaction. But you may be able to find some money, even if it's not on a per lead basis. If you just zoom out a little bit to the macro here and say, hey, we want to be, we don't want to be on your cap table equity partners, but we want to be kind of like your partner here and help you succeed as a business. And we have, the back end of our contract just means if we really help you knock it out of the park and succeed, we get a extra bonus. And then I share that with my team. And so they're super motivated to make sure that you're killing it and you're growing. And man, when they see that you're aligned with them, like you're in it to help them win and succeed and grow their business, like you may be able to just find new revenue here.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's not something I've really played around with or tested. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to try something like a performance-based back-end offer sort of thing that will unlock some revenue. That's a great idea.
So the path to 5 million profit, is that like 12 million revenue top line, or what do you think? You'd 15 or?
It would probably be somewhere in the wheelhouse of 12 to 15 million, which means we would need, oh God, I don't know. Let me do some quick math here. 15 million.
A couple hundred contractors.
Yeah. Well, we just hired an operations agency to help us, what's it called? Improve efficiency. So we don't need hundreds of contractors, but yeah, we would have quite the team. 1 second. 15 million. Looks like we would need around 700 clients paying us $2,000 a month. I could be wrong with that, but
yeah, I'm getting like, between 500 or 600 to get you in the ballpark. But yeah, 700 would be safe.
And Clint, if he's doing 5 million a year in profit, what's the valuation then?
I mean, that's stratospheric. If that truly appears to be sustainable, and these are sticky customers that are happy with the service, I'm almost hesitant to throw out a valuation for that, but it would be a high multiple. Like, gosh, I feel like a 5x is a gimme and a 10x is within the realm of possibility. Like we're talking tens of millions of dollars, if not, so you might ballpark that as like that could be a $15 to $50 million enterprise if you achieve that goal.
Yeah, I think it could definitely be like a strategic buy for a digital agency already serving home service businesses. So they could acquire our company and then sell all of our customers on their agency services. So I think it would make a lot of sense as a strategic buy down the road for someone.
You could a buyer could be like a Grant Cardone or somebody that's like doing like deals with the home equity business with home services businesses, or like or that's somebody that's just doing a roll up in one of these industries, like a private equity group that has 100 different home service brands that they're operating, and then they just kind of buy you to use that service at all their companies and blow them up. I could also see like a franchisor that has a bunch of franchisees that they want to offer this service to help support the franchise network. If it's because then they could essentially still get your 5 million of profit from everybody else, but then they could use your playbook with 1,000 franchisees and help them grow their businesses, which makes them more money. There's a lot of exit. You'd have a lot of fun exit options if you get to that size.
Yeah. I'll dream about it until then. So.
Okay, sweet.
You're executing in the meantime.
Yeah.
Which is it's amazing how quickly you've scaled this thing. So
cool. Well, I'm excited for you, man. Are you is this a means to an end for you? Like what's the big goal? Like do you have some, hey, by the time I'm 30, I'd like to see this happen in my life? Or like, do you have some North Star that this growing this business is motivating you, that this is going to help achieve something for you or unlock something for you?
Not really. I just do it because it's fun. I like doing this. Entrepreneurship provides like some level of freedom to me that makes it so awesome. And I guess I'm just like playing the game and want to see how far I can go. And I think a lot of that game is like, okay, how much money is your business making? So at some point when I hit my goals or whatever, I want to sell and maybe play some different game, either a new business or a new hobby or whatever it ends up being. But I'll probably take a break from entrepreneurship for a little and then do something else. I have no idea.
Love the honesty, man. Like, loving the game, seeing how far you can run up the scoreboard for now, but you'll figure it out as you go. That's a lot of fun, man. I appreciate you taking the time to share your story and being brave to kind of talk about your real numbers on the show. I think hopefully it'll help open some doors up for you. And hopefully if you're listening, I think we do have some home service business owners that listen to the show. And so definitely hit up Daniel if you want to talk to him about their services on Facebook, because it's working for a lot of people. And that's why they're growing like they are and have the customer retention that they are. Any other parting thoughts, Patrick, or anything you want to cover while we have them?
No, this is fun. I'm excited to see, how you keep growing it and just where you scale to. So congrats, man. Daniel, if people want to connect with you online, we'll link to it in the show notes, but where's the best place to do that? Is that your website or is that X, or where should they go?
Yeah, couple places are good. On X, you can reach me at Danny Magazu. So my last name spelled Magazu. You can also find us at ridethewave.info. That's our website. And my personal email, if you want to just email me, is dmagazu@ridethewave.info.
Awesome, man. We'll keep crushing it, and we'll have to do an update with you here soon.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. This was a blast.
See ya.